How Brazil Got Created by Christian Androne. I know how Brazil looked before being colonized. As you can see, this is a map of Brazil before being colonized. Brazil was colonized in the year 1530. As you can see in the map, there are shown two routes which the explorer that discovered Brazil took to get there. When the Portuguese arrived in Brazil, they just put a flag on the land and they left back and came back to Brazil after 31 years. When the Portuguese arrived in Brazil, it was spring. In the time the Portuguese discovered Brazil, they were one of the most powerful countries in Europe. The history of Brazil starts with indigenous people in Brazil. Europeans arrived in Brazil at the opening of the 16th century. The first European to colonize Brazil was Pedro Álvares Cabral on April 22, 1500 under the sponsorship of Portugal. The Portuguese did not stay to explore the region when they arrived there for the first time. They came back after 31 years and then they looked at it and examined it. They were surprised when they came back how many new things they had. Why were the Portuguese attracted from the Brazilian land? The Portuguese were attracted from the land because they had many new foods and animals. The different kind of foods. The food in Europe was general. For example, they had pigs, cows, sheep, goats, and donkeys. They had tomatoes, cucumbers, and apples. In the New World, they did not have many things. They had llamas that were used for everything, and they had fruits like bananas, and they also had tobacco and potatoes. The first people that arrived in Brazil had seen the natives. They treated them nicely because they had to use them as a source that would give them food, and they would trade with. Brazil had been part of Portugal from the 1500s to the 1800s when it became an independent country. The population. I know how the population of Brazil increased. Slavery in Brazil. In the time period that Europeans came to Brazil, there was no need of slaves because the population was too little and the needs were also little. The diseases. There were some diseases that the Europeans brought, but they were not that deadly. The independence of Brazil. Brazil got their independence in the period of the 1800s when they developed. The transition was a fast transition. Brazil is an independent country. They don't have anything to do with Portugal nowadays. The relationship between Portugal and Brazil. They don't have any relationship nowadays because Portugal is a rich country and Brazil, most of the people there are middle class to poor class.
Created using Powtoon.